My stepsister told me at my wedding that my fiancé wanted to run away with her, but I called her husband and asked him what he thought about it. I'm 25 years old, and I recently got married to my fiancé and boyfriend of almost 7 years, Noah, who is also 25. My entire family was invited to the wedding, including my stepsister Charlotte, who is 24. Our parents got married when I was 9 and Charlotte was 8. My mom married her dad, and at the time, we were fine with it because we had already known each other for a couple of years. Our parents had been together for almost 3 years before getting married. To be more precise, we actually met for the first time when I was 6 and she was 5. We got along really well. I lived in a neighborhood where there weren't many kids to play with, so whenever Charlotte and her dad came over, I was super excited, and we had a great time. Even as we got older, we had a good relationship, and I considered her a close friend, even all the way through middle school. It wasn't until we started high school that things started to change between us, and it was so typical and sad. It happened because of a guy. To be specific, Noah. My dad had cheated on my mom with a friend of hers while she was pregnant with me. He quickly decided he didn't want anything to do with either of us, so after I was born, he gave up his parental rights and left with his girlfriend. They never got married, and I never saw him again. Since my grandparents were financially well off, my mom decided she didn't even want child support from him. She wanted nothing to do with him. So, I never met my dad, and don't know him at all. My stepdad was pretty much the first father figure I had in my life. Charlotte's mother, unfortunately, passed away when she was very young due to multiple health issues, and her pregnancy only made things worse. So my mom had full custody of me, and Charlotte's dad had full custody of her. When they started dating and moved in together, we ended up spending all our time together. She was close to my age, and it was great to always have a companion. Like I said before, Charlotte and I were very close, until high school. She had started school early, so even though she was a year younger than me, we were in the same grade. We started high school together, had a lot of the same classes, and with us was Noah. His family had moved to our town that year, and he was the newest student in our high school. I liked him almost immediately, and unfortunately, so did Charlotte. He was cute and really sweet. Even though both of us had dated other guys before, we were just kids at the time, and it didn't really matter. I could tell Charlotte liked him just as much as I did, so I decided to talk to her about it. We made a promise to each other that neither of us would try to get close to him or date him out of respect for each other. We didn't want a guy to come between us. We were just teenagers with a crush. It wasn't a big deal. We both thought we could get over our little infatuation with Noah, but unfortunately, that's not how it worked out. Since the three of us had so many classes together, we became good friends. The more I got to know him, the more I liked him. He was everything I wanted in a guy, but I knew what I had promised, so I kept things strictly platonic. Even though Noah constantly flirted with me, I never flirted back because I knew I couldn't hurt Charlotte. At home, Charlotte and I never talked about him. We knew it was a sensitive topic, and we didn't want to bring it up. That's how things went on until our senior year. Around the time when people were asking each other to prom, I was about to say yes to another guy when Noah told me that Charlotte had asked him to prom. He had confronted me when I was alone and told me that Charlotte not only asked him to be her prom date, but she also confessed that she had feelings for him and wanted to be more than just friends. I was shocked that she would do something like that after promising me she wouldn't try to get close to him. And after telling me not to either. I felt hurt. But then, Noah also told me that he had rejected her because he only saw her as a friend. He said that although he always felt like she was trying to get closer to him, he never reciprocated those feelings. He also told me that ever since he joined our school and became friends with us, Charlotte had been flirting with him whenever they were alone. He had sensed that she liked him, but he never acted on it, because he liked me. The reason he had confronted me and told me all of this was because, even though he liked me and kept trying to flirt with me, I never responded. I never showed interest in him. And now that our senior year was coming to an end and we were all about to go our separate ways for college, he needed an answer. He wanted to know if there was ever a chance for us. So, He told me to give him an answer, if I liked him or not. If I didn't, he would take it as a sign to move on and start thinking about inviting other girls to prom. I still remember that day so clearly because it was such a big moment for me. After my conversation with Noah, I was completely overwhelmed. It was a lot to process. Not only had he told me that he had liked me for a long time, but he also told me that Charlotte had been secretly trying to get closer to him, even after promising me she wouldn't do anything to jeopardize our friendship. That hurt, because I really had considered her nothing less than my sister. So, after Noah cornered me that day and told me everything, I told Noah I needed a day to think, and I promised to give him an answer the next day. Honestly, I had no idea what to say. Everything depended on the conversation I was about to have with Charlotte. That day, I decided to skip the rest of my classes and go home early. I didn't want to walk home with her, not after what I had just learned. My stomach felt sick, twisted in knots, after finding out the truth. When I got home, I waited. And when she finally arrived, she acted completely normal, as if nothing had happened. She didn't mention anything about Noah or the fact that she had asked him to prom, despite all the promises we had made to each other. So I brought it up. I confronted her directly and asked if it was true that she had invited Noah to prom and confessed her feelings to him. She immediately got defensive, telling me it was none of my business, that it was between her and Noah. But it was my business. She had made a promise to me, just like I had made a promise to her. And for a long time, I had been holding back my feelings for him, while she had secretly been trying to get close to him. It was incredibly unfair. Because the truth was, I didn't just like Noah. I was in love with him. And it hadn't been easy for me to keep ignoring his advances just to protect my relationship with Charlotte. I didn't want to hurt her, so I had put her feelings above mine, only to find out she wasn't willing to do the same for me. That realization hurt more than anything. And when I confronted her about it, we had an awful fight. It was full of anger, accusations, and words we could never take back. But in the middle of it all, I made a decision. I was going to be with Noah. It was clear Charlotte didn't care about my feelings at all, so why should I keep putting hers above mine? What made things even worse was that during the argument, she basically admitted that the only reason she had even made that promise in the first place was because she thought that if it ever came down to it, Noah would obviously choose her over me. It was beyond arrogant, and that was the final straw. I was done with her. She had betrayed me in the worst way possible. The next day, I told Noah everything, about the promise Charlotte and I had made, about the fight we had, about everything that had led to that moment. He was incredibly understanding. He even told me that if I needed more time to decide, he would wait for me. But I didn't need more time. I told him the truth, that I was in love with him and I couldn't deny it anymore. That same day, we officially became a couple. And now, 7 years later, I have no regrets. Of course, our decision meant we had to cut ties with Charlotte completely. We never spoke again after that day. For Noah, it was easy. But for me, it was complicated. I still lived with her. We had shared a room for years, but after our fight, and after I started dating Noah, she moved into the basement, and we lived separately. I didn't complain. Our parents tried to figure out what had happened between us, but I never told them. And I don't think Charlotte did either. We just stopped talking. At first, it was difficult, but over time, we got used to it. Noah and I ended up going to the same college, while Charlotte chose one across the country. For the next few years, I barely saw her, except during the holidays. After graduation, we all started our own lives. Noah and I built a future together, while Charlotte moved on and started dating someone from her university. Life kept moving forward, and honestly, our fight started to feel like something out of a high school drama, something petty and insignificant. It no longer mattered. Over time, Charlotte and I started seeing each other again at family gatherings. And while we never truly talked like we used to, at least we were civil. Last year, she announced her engagement to her college boyfriend. I congratulated her. It was all very formal. She even told me she'd love for me to be at her wedding. It felt bittersweet. When we were little, we used to dream about being each other's maid of honor, playing pretend weddings as kids. But at her real wedding, I was just another guest. I guess I was happy that we were finally acting like adults and putting things behind us, but deep down, I was still sad, because I knew things would never go back to the way they were. Since then, we've stayed on speaking terms. She even seemed fine with Noah. Of course, I had the common sense not to bring him as my date to her wedding. It would have been awkward and insensitive, even though she had moved on and was about to marry someone else. But she must have noticed his absence. After the ceremony, while we were chatting, she casually mentioned that I could have brought Noah, that she had moved on and it wouldn't have bothered her, that it was all in the past. I shouldn't have believed her, because what happened recently proved that she hadn't moved on at all, and she was still the same person she had always been. A couple of months ago, about 8 months to be exact, Noah proposed to me. And of course, I said yes. The timing was perfect. He had just been promoted at work, and I had recently left my job to join my friend in her startup. Everything was going great, and I was looking forward to having a wedding that would be stress-free and drama-free. But I guess if I had really wanted that, I shouldn't have invited Charlotte. When I got engaged, she congratulated me, and that was it. I thought things were fine between us. I invited her to the wedding, and she accepted the invitation. There was no reason for me to think anything would go wrong. But a week ago, on the day of my wedding, Charlotte decided to make one last desperate attempt to ruin my relationship. Noah and I were getting married at a hotel just outside of town, and most of our close friends and family were staying there with us. The two of us, along with our parents, bridesmaids, and groomsmen, arrived 2 days before the wedding, while other family members and guests from out of town arrived the day before. Charlotte and her husband were supposed to arrive a day before the wedding, but they showed up the same day as us. That caught us off guard, but they played it off as a simple mistake. Luckily, or maybe unluckily, the hotel still had a few rooms available, so it all worked out for them. At the time, I genuinely thought it was an honest mistake. I didn't overthink it because I had no idea what Charlotte was planning. But on the day of my wedding, it all became clear. That morning, I was in my room getting my makeup done when I noticed Charlotte constantly looking out of my room and checking the hallway. It seemed a little strange since the guests were either in their rooms or just enjoying themselves. After all, we had booked a significant portion of the hotel. I brushed it off, thinking maybe she was just nervous or distracted. An hour before the ceremony, when it was almost time to start getting dressed, I decided to take a short walk down the hallway outside my room to calm my nerves. I couldn't leave the floor or go too far because I didn't want anyone to see me in my wedding dress before the ceremony. But as soon as I stepped out, Charlotte caught me and pulled me aside, saying she needed to talk to me about something very important. I had no idea what it could be about. Charlotte and I, while on speaking terms, never had deep or personal conversations anymore. So this was unusual. But I was curious, so I let her talk. And then, she started telling me the most ridiculous story I had ever heard. She told me that she and her husband had not arrived a day late by accident. It had been intentional. Apparently, according to her, Noah had asked her to come early. She claimed that 2 weeks before the wedding, Noah had reached out to her, saying he was having doubts. That he was afraid he was making a mistake by marrying me. That after all this time, he had finally accepted the fact that he wasn't in love with me anymore. But instead, he had fallen for her. She said that, supposedly, she and Noah had been secretly talking behind my back for a long time, but that it had always been platonic. However, somewhere along the way, he had fallen in love with her. And because of that, he had asked her to come early so they could run away together. She claimed that ever since she arrived at the hotel, Noah had been pressuring her to go through with his plan, but she had hesitated. According to her, Noah was too scared to tell me himself because he thought I would have an extreme reaction, and he didn't want to be around when it happened. And yet, despite all of this, My dear Charlotte just couldn't do this to me. She had to be honest with me. And that was why, like any normal person, she had chosen to drop this bombshell 1 hour before my wedding. I knew without a doubt that she was lying. First of all, I knew Noah. He wasn't the kind of person to do something like that. He was always direct and upfront about his feelings. If he had any doubts, he would have told me to my face. He wouldn't have gone behind my back and confided in Charlotte, of all people. Second, the whole story felt ridiculous. It was exaggerated, dramatic, and completely out of character for Noah. But what made it even more obvious that she was lying was the way she was delivering the story. She acted as if she was concerned for me, as if she was only looking out for me and my relationship. But I knew better. She was actively trying to create drama where there was none, just to ruin my wedding. So I decided to take things a step further. I was going to beat her at her own game. Right in front of her, I pulled out my phone and called her husband. I didn't have his number, but I followed him on Instagram, so I called him from there. I acted devastated, making sure Charlotte couldn't see exactly what I was doing on my phone. She didn't stop me because she assumed I was calling Noah to confront him, maybe even to break up with him, which was exactly what she wanted. She had no idea I was actually calling her husband, who was in another part of the hotel. Fortunately, he picked up right away. I repeated everything Charlotte had just told me, pretending to ask if it was true. She didn't say a single word, probably because she still thought I was talking to Noah. I don't even know what she was planning to do if I actually believed her. A single glance at Noah's messages or emails would have proven the truth. But Charlotte didn't think that far ahead. After I finished talking, I put the call on speaker so Charlotte could hear her husband's reaction. And just as I expected, he was completely shocked to hear everything. He immediately said he was coming back to his room to talk to her. The moment Charlotte heard his voice instead of Noah's, she lost it. She started screaming at me, accusing me of trying to sabotage her marriage on purpose. I simply told her, "I'm doing to you exactly what you tried to do to me." Then, I turned around and walked back into my room. I told my bridesmaids what had happened and made sure they kept an eye out to ensure Charlotte didn't show up at the wedding or the ceremony. I didn't trust her. I just wanted her gone. But it turns out I had nothing to worry about. The wedding went off without a hitch. Charlotte didn't show up, not because she respected my wishes, but because she was too busy trying to fix her own marriage after the mess she had just created. And honestly, nobody even noticed she was missing except for our parents. After the ceremony, they asked me where she was, and I just told them I would explain later. But I never planned on telling them the full story. It didn't matter to me anymore. After everything was over, I contacted the hotel to check on Charlotte's room, and to my satisfaction, I found out that she had checked out during the wedding. She was gone. Nobody brought up her absence after the wedding, and I was relieved. I just wanted to enjoy my time as a newlywed without thinking about Charlotte and her pathetic attempt to ruin my day. Of course, I told Noah about what happened later and we laughed about it, but that was it. I thought it was over. But a week later, 2 days ago, I found out that Charlotte and her husband were separating. Our parents were the ones who told me. Apparently, her husband had called them, yelling about how horrible Charlotte was and telling them to come get her because she refused to leave their house. He even threatened to call the police if she didn't go. So they went to pick her up, and that's when they found out they were getting divorced. Her husband was furious that she had purposely arrived at the wedding early with the intention of sabotaging me. He had heard the entire story from me during that phone call, but that wasn't the only reason. Apparently, for a long time, he had been hearing from Charlotte's friends about how wonderful Noah was. How Charlotte should have been the one to end up with him. According to him, it was obvious that Charlotte still had feelings for Noah, and her attempt to ruin my wedding was just proof of that. That was the final straw for him. He couldn't take it anymore. No matter how much he insisted, he knew the truth. She was still in love with another man, and she couldn't deny it any longer. So he decided to end their marriage. And now, My parents are blaming me for it. They think that despite everything Charlotte did, I should have kept her marriage out of it. That by involving her husband and calling him, I ruined her marriage. Now, they expect me to apologize to her. And because I refused, they're not speaking to me. I literally don't understand how any of this is my fault. I didn't ask Charlotte to do something so insane. All I did was hit her where it hurt, because she tried to do the same to me first. That's all I did. And yet, somehow, I'm the bad guy? Noah agrees with me, but my parents and some mutual friends of ours are siding with Charlotte. And honestly, it's messing with my head. But no matter what, I don't regret involving her husband, because she purposely tried to sabotage my wedding by lying about my husband. And that was a mistake she paid for. Update 1. First of all, I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post and reassured me that I wasn't in the wrong here. That really helped me realize just how unfair my parents and a few of my friends were being. So, I decided to cut ties with them. Honestly, I don't see any other way out of this. If I don't cut them off, they'll just keep blaming me and making me feel guilty about something that wasn't my fault. And at some point, people break. I don't want to cave in and apologize to Charlotte, so the best thing for me is to walk away from all of them. Besides, isn't this what my parents wanted? They were the ones who refused to talk to me because I wasn't willing to apologize to Charlotte. So, now they have exactly what they wanted. I'm not talking to them either. As for my so-called friends, if they really want to take Charlotte's side in all of this and paint me as the villain, they're welcome to do so. This just showed me that they were never really my friends in the first place. Everyone knows that Charlotte is the one at fault here. If anything, she is the one who owes me an apology. They can keep denying it all they want, but that won't change the facts. And honestly, I have no interest in changing the facts or changing anyone's opinion. People can believe whatever they want. All I want is to spend time with Noah. And that's all that matters. Update 2. So, Noah and I are on our honeymoon now. It's been almost 2 weeks since the wedding, and I'm still not talking to my parents. Not talking to my friends doesn't really hurt that much, because now I have my husband, and if I'm being honest, I was never that deeply connected to those people anyway. So it doesn't really make a huge difference in my life. But not talking to my parents? Yeah, that sucks. I still have moments where I instinctively want to text my mom or call my stepdad just to have a little chat and laugh about something random. But then I remember I can't. Because they've chosen to side with Charlotte in all of this. From what I know, she's living with them now, and she's probably filling their heads with more lies about me, turning them further against me. By the time I get back home, they'll probably hate me. I guess I can understand why my stepdad would want to support his daughter, but what I don't understand is why my mom isn't standing by me. She was literally cheated on by my dad. He abandoned her to be with someone she once called a friend. And that's exactly what Charlotte was trying to do to me. She wanted to betray me so she could have Noah for herself. Of all people, my mom should understand why I was angry and why I did what I did. But if she doesn't get it, if she really sees me as the villain in this situation, then I don't even know what to say anymore. But it's fine. Right now, Noah and I are on our honeymoon, and hopefully, this will help lift my spirits and make me forget about all this drama. Update 3. On the 3rd day of my honeymoon, I got a text from my mom, but I'm not going to open it until I get back home. Right now, I just want to enjoy my honeymoon instead of getting caught up in her drama. Noah and I are having an amazing time, and in case this message turns out to be something negative, I'd rather deal with that disappointment later. I know that might sound strange, but I really want to appreciate this experience, because you only go on your honeymoon once. Update 4. So I'm back home now, and the first thing I did after landing was check my mom's message. She told me that they had let Charlotte stay with them for a few days, but she had become unbearable, because all she did was talk badly about me. It got to the point where both my stepdad and my mom decided they had had enough. They finally realized that what she did was definitely an attempt to ruin my wedding. So they kicked her out. Now, they've invited me to dinner this weekend because they want to apologize. They admitted that they had let their emotions get the best of them. Since Charlotte's divorce seemed like a bigger issue to them at the time, they didn't know how to handle their feelings, and they made some bad decisions, but now they've come to their senses and genuinely want to make things right. Honestly, I couldn't be happier. Noah and I have already agreed to go to dinner. I guess this is what will finally fix our relationship. All's well that ends well. I just hope we never have to fight like this again. Update 5. We finally had dinner with my parents. It was at their house since they wanted to cook as a peace offering, so we arrived and everything was going well. Until Charlotte showed up. She must have found out we were going to be there, maybe from talking to her dad. I don't really know. But either way, she still had a key to their house, so she let herself in and crashed our dinner. And the moment she walked in, she started saying awful things to me. She told me that Noah was meant for her, that I had stolen him from her because I was jealous. She even said she wished our parents had never met because that had ruined everything. My parents tried to calm her down and politely asked her to leave, telling her this wasn't doing anyone any good. But she wouldn't listen. Then Noah, who had been sitting next to me the whole time, finally spoke up. He calmly told her that he had never felt the same way about her, that he had always seen her as just a friend, that he loves me and wants to be with me. And that hit her like a ton of bricks. It was like her entire world just collapsed. I don't know what kind of fantasy she had built in her head, but hearing Noah say it out loud, so clearly, so directly, must have shattered whatever false hope she had been holding on to. I won't lie. I did feel a little bad for her. No matter what she did, rejection like that has to hurt. But after that, she finally left. She tried to protest a little, but Noah just repeated the same thing. There was nothing between them, and there never would be. I hope that was enough for her to finally move on. Because, honestly, I don't think this is healthy for anyone, especially not for her. After she left, the mood was definitely a little tense, but we did our best to move on and finish dinner without letting her ruin the whole night. So I guess that's it for now. I think that confrontation was the last thing we'll hear from Charlotte, at least when it comes to her obsession with my husband.